Not that long ago, Tara from @We Americans came to visit us right here in this studio, and we took the time to record a few videos. This is one of them.
All right, welcome back to my YouTube channel, guys. I'm so excited to have Robin on with me today from the New Zealand Pocket Guide. He's so cool, and their website is amazing, and it has everything that you need to travel in New Zealand. I mean, down to the minute details, and it's all free. You should check it out for sure. So why don't you tell us a little bit about you, and then we'll jump into some tips for traveling around New Zealand.
So I've been in New Zealand for about 11 years now. I've been in the tourism industry for pretty much the whole time. I speak way too fast and I'm passionate about traveling in New Zealand. And nice. You can see that on our YouTube and on the site.
Yes, so you should definitely check out their site. Anything that you need to know about travel, I've used it many times. It's super helpful, so you'll definitely want to check that out. So today, though, we're going to talk about travel tips. I just thought, of course, if I have Robin, who knows everything about traveling around. Now, I've been to most places in New Zealand, but I don't, know it as the ins and outs of it like he does. So we're going to get some travel tips in today. So here we go.
All right. So the first tip that I have for you guys, and that's the worst one, but you have to be up to date with the COVID-19 restrictions in New Zealand. And the best place to get up to date with the COVID-19 restriction is covid19.govt.nz. It's the official New Zealand government website, and that's as well get information from the source.
We cannot wait until the borders open and people can travel. So hopefully when you're watching this, you can travel.
Yes, and hopefully as you're watching that, you are currently planning your itinerary, because now we have plenty of time to just plan an itinerary, and that brings my second tip to light, and it's planning a realistic itinerary. If you only have a week in New Zealand, you can only do one of the both islands. It would be absolutely crazy to try to cram 2 islands into 1 week. So the bare minimum, the absolute minimum of time that you need to do both islands is 2 weeks. We have plenty of samples of itineraries on the site.
Yes, they're great.
If you guys want to check it out. But seriously, just make sure that you plan yourself a realistic itinerary, otherwise you're just going to drive and just spend night somewhere and have no time to do anything else.
No, that's really good advice. I would even say even half of one of the islands for a whole week. And this is the other problem with Americans that travel here, is that they plan their trip to Australia and they think, hey, I'm just going to do a stopover for a week or less in New Zealand, and not a good plan. I'm telling you, I have so many people that have visited me from the States, and they're like, I don't know why we spent all that time in Australia. I mean, Australia's great, has its benefits, but New Zealand is stunning.
That's what I did. My first experience in New Zealand, I was doing a working holiday in Australia, and I was like, I can just pop into New Zealand before I leave and just do everything in 1 week. Learn from my mistake. Learn from it. All right, next tip. When you're coming to New Zealand, make sure that you know which visa you need, or if you are from a visa waiver country, meaning a country that doesn't need a visa to visit New Zealand, you need to pay the NZDT and the IVL, which is a levy. Anyway, there is some fees to pay. Make sure that you're aware of those things. It's the boring
part. That's good to know. I didn't even know that.
Yes.
I think I'm from a country that I don't have to pay that.
You do actually have to pay that. Oh. Yes, on the visit. But that's
I
okay.
paid it.
Move on.
Are you serious?
Yep.
Yeah, I paid a lot of money to get here. Let's be honest.
Yeah. But so if you come in New Zealand with a visa, like i.e. as an immigrant, and everything, this is all included. You don't have to pay
included.
that.
Okay,
I'm talking about visitors and everything. Yes.
Okay. Yes.
She can stay.
Yeah. No. Yes, I didn't come as a visitor. I came as an immigrant, and I already paid my fees.
Okay, while we're talking about the boring stuff, when you come into New Zealand, there is very strict biosecurity rules on what you can and cannot bring into New Zealand. So make sure that you read up on that. There is plenty of literature online. I'm not going to point to my own website again, but there's plenty of literature online. There is plenty of photos at the airport. There is plenty of information. And if you are unsure, declare it. So just give you an example, right? Let's say you are bringing a gun into New Zealand. You shouldn't, but let's say you're bringing a gun and you don't know if you can do that or not. If you declare it at the border, they will inspect your luggage, they will check it, and they will tell you you can't bring it, and they will ask you to surrender it. You won't be fined because you declared it. However, if you bring a gun to New Zealand and you don't declare it and you try to sneak in past and they find it, then the fines are heavy, strict, and you may even be denied entry to New Zealand.
Oh.
So let's not do that.
When in doubt, declare.
Exactly. All right, next tip, let's talk about some more fun stuff. If you're planning to travel around New Zealand, there's plenty of method of transportation available to you. You can take buses, you can fly around, you can rent your own car, you can buy a car if you're here for an extended period of time. There's plenty of ways to make your way around New Zealand. So make sure that you research, even before you start making your itinerary, which method of transport you want to use, and then go from there. It's the best way to plan an itinerary. There's even some bus tours which literally have everything included. The itinerary is already done, and therefore you have nothing to do. Just sit, put your bum in the seat and enjoy.
So do most travelers rent a car? I guess that's what we talked about earlier. So most people rent a car or they're doing the bus tour.
Yes, yes. That's the two main methods of transport in New Zealand, and that's the two best way to also see most of the country as well, traveling by land. Flying around New Zealand just doesn't really give you the best experience, because New Zealand, and you know that yourself,
it's
all about road trip. Even just driving up to here, it's just fantastic.
Camper vanning it, or like even just the public buses are good. You know, some of the cool trains that go across islands are cool if you like that sort of thing.
Yep. Now, when it comes to the nitty-gritty of planning your trip, it's all about picking the right time of the year to plan your trip. New Zealand is notoriously busy during December to February. This is when most of the tourists are coming in New Zealand, and also when most of the locals have, well, the Christmas holidays, and it's summer as well. So you max all that together: Christmas holidays, summer, all the tourists coming over. This is becoming really, really busy, so everything is more expensive, everything is more cramped, so you're going to pay more for a less good experience. So traveling during the shoulder season, which are basically a couple of months either way, so basically not in December to February, will be ideal, save you big bucks, and give you a better experience in New Zealand.
Yes, totally, because everybody goes back to school at the beginning of February. So February, March, April, amazing weather to be traveling, and won't have so many travelers. So.
Yes. However, if you don't have any other option and you have to travel in summer, just book in advance. Do not expect that you're going to be able to find easy accommodation in Lake Tekapo, in Queenstown, in those kind of really hot spots in the middle of the summer. You won't, and it's going to be tough to find accommodation. So book in advance if you travel in summer.
Okay, good.
Do you travel often in summer?
I do, because I have kids, but when we first moved here, I was homeschooling some of them, and so we were able to travel in the off season, and that was so much better. So much better.
And even just the hikes are less cramped and everything is so much better.
So much better.
All right, moving on. If you are traveling on your own, i.e. you're not taking a bus tour that is already organized for you, consider traveling south to north. So most travelers travel north to south because the main port of entry to New Zealand, and I mean port of entry as airport as well, is Auckland, which is relatively north of the country. So most people are actually traveling north to south. So if you travel south to north, first you're going against the grain, so you get less people on the road and all that kind of things. Also, you may be able to find some better deals for your car or camper van rentals, because, well, at the end of summer, a lot of companies end up having all their inventory on the South Island, and they need to find a way to bring it back up, and therefore you'll be getting better deals to go from south to north.
That's really good advice, you guys. That's really good advice. Yes.
So yeah, that's something that we advise everybody.
Oh, okay.
Speaking of camper vans, you can't just camp anywhere. It is a myth. Freedom camping is a thing in New Zealand, but there is rules to freedom camping.
Rules, yes.
So I won't go into details about all the different rules because they're mostly by different districts. But we do have a full page on NZ Pocket Guide, and I'll point that to you guys because it's too boring to talk about. But you can camp anywhere.
But
you can camp everywhere.
You can.
You can't.
You can't.
You cannot camp everywhere.
Right. Is there a country that you are allowed to do that? Because to me, I don't think I would ever come in and think, oh, I can just camp anywhere. Are there certain people coming in thinking, oh, I should just be able to throw up my tent?
Yeah, well, from the top of my head, like Madagascar is a great country to be able to do that.
Oh, really?
But it's kind of almost cheaper to stay with locals or stay in accommodations and everything, but you are able to camp pretty much everywhere. You go along the road, they have the main highway and everything, so yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
But yeah, don't do that in New Zealand. Here you go. Next tip, what do we have? Always carry an extra layer. New Zealand's famous for 4 seasons in one day, isn't it? The weather in New Zealand is so changeable. How cold were you this morning?
I know.
How hot are you right now?
I know. I was so cold. The weather changes throughout the day. It'll be like so hot, and then we'll have a rainstorm, and then definitely have that light fleece, that light layer that you can always throw on.
Yes. All right, if you need to buy alcohol in New Zealand, a little bit like in the US, you will always be ID'd. In New Zealand, there is only 3 forms of IDs which are going to be accepted. it's going to be the New Zealand driver license, the hospitality 18+, and your passport. If you have any or other form of IDs, i.e. your US driver license or anything like that, it will not be accepted and you won't be able to buy your beer. So just know that if you want to have a bit of a bender by the beach or something like that, can't do that if you don't have the correct ID. Yep. Can't use.
What was the second thing that you said?
The HANZ 18+ card. It's a hospitality New Zealand 18+ card.
Okay.
Yeah. So this one's
that's
accepted.
That's a good tip. I did not know that.
You can apply for it.
So
if
you have to bring your passport to go to the bar?
Yep. Yeah. We
That's
are still
how I
being
hang
checked.
out in bars.
I am still being checked, and I do look damn old, and I'm still being checked regularly.
That's rough. I'm not checked.
You're not? You know, it's because they
see all my.
Yeah.
Yeah, they see all my kids. No, don't
It's
worry.
because
I'm
they
not
don't
taking
see
them
you at the bar.
They don't. I'm not going to the bar. It's true.
Okay, moving on.
These are great tips, you guys. Thanks.
All right. Next up, when you plan your trip around New Zealand, choose the right type of accommodation for you. So everybody travels differently, and in New Zealand there is a breadth of different type of accommodation. Hostels are great. You can get private room in hostels, so that means you don't have to literally stay in dorms, and you can make use of their communal kitchen. It's a great way to save money when you're on the road. Motels are usually more self-contained units. You have campsites where you can have powered campsite for your camper van, or even unpowered campsite, and you still have access to all the facilities. You can have self-contained units if you want, and obviously we have everything from the luxury lodge to the boutique hotel, and everything in between. So there's a ton of different type of accommodation, so don't get restricted to the thing that you know. You may want to try something different for your trip to New Zealand. Save some big bucks, try something new. And
so it was cool about the campgrounds here, like, because it's hard to. I would say that New Zealand travel is really set up for couples, and that when you have a big family, it gets harder. And so, like, we have a campground, they have these like communal kitchens, like that might be normal in Europe, but I was like, oh, this is so cool. I love it because I'm a people person and love to meet new people, and but my kids were like, what? So it's good for them. That's really cool.
Yeah, and if you don't feel like tenting, we do know a lot of families which are traveling around, and they just go in a hostel and they literally hire a private dorm of 6. And you get a 6 dorm over there.
Okay, I've seen that, and I've never done it. Should I be doing that?
Yeah, I mean, you will actually save money on accommodation.
Oh yeah, I know I would.
To a holiday park, you have access to the kitchen, so if your kids are gluten-free or any dietary requirement, you can cater to them easily by doing that.
That's true.
And like that, you don't have to hire an expensive camper van or having to do the whole setup with the tents and everything like that. You literally just rock in with your car.
That's really a good option, you guys, because honestly, like if the plot of land at a campground is expensive, when you add all these people to it, I'm like, I'm just gonna stay somewhere that has walls.
Hiring a dorm in like a 6-bed dorm in a hostel will cost you about $120 to $150 at most.
You heard it here first.
There you go. If price changes by the time you watch the video, don't hold me accountable for it.
Yes.
Terms and conditions apply.
Support local.
Call me now and you can get 2 for 1 or whatever they say on TV in your country. All right. Speaking of buying things, when you buy things in New Zealand, pay in New Zealand dollars. When you use your credit card and everything, choose the option New Zealand dollars. If you can withdraw some money, it's easier. Don't change your money at the airport. All that kind of tips that you probably heard a million times. Be wise with your money. Bank fees add up to a lot when you travel around. And if you stay for quite a while in New Zealand, i.e. you're a backpacker and stay on a working holiday visa, open a bank account here. Make it easy for yourself. Get yourself a local debit card. It's going to make your life super easy.
Yes, do that. That's really good advice.
All right, now we're going to talk about New Zealand road rules that you love a lot. So yeah, be aware of the New Zealand road rules. Like, do a little bit of research. There is like, let's say about 10 points that you need to know about and that you need to kind of just have read at least once. If you're not used to driving on the left side of the road, which is the wrong side of the road, it's okay.
Agreed.
It's okay. Just make sure that you start driving very slowly and just kind of get used to it. Honestly, it comes really quickly. A lot of people are super stressed about that.
Yeah, I was number one stressed about that.
But it does kind of come really fast.
And it really was not a problem. Yeah. Honestly, you guys, it was not a problem.
Yeah, so be aware of how to use roundabouts. If you have not used the roundabout because you're used to grid system, it's absolutely fine. You just need to kind of watch the traffic for about 20 seconds.
Yeah, just take your time.
Get used to it. Same thing for one-way bridges and everything. It's all kind of self-explanatory, but you may want to have self-explained it to yourself before you're on the car and you stress about it.
Don't just pull out because you don't know what to do.
Or don't keep driving because you don't know what to do. That's even worse. That could lead to an accident or something.
Yes.
So do neither.
Okay, and a couple things to note about the roads is people stop for everybody. Okay, so if you're from like New York or Chicago, you're like, it's happening. They're always like, let them in, everybody lets everybody in. Even in the most dangerous situation, they let them in. So just be aware, everybody's nice and they drive quite a bit slower than I'm used to. Yeah, and
okay, I thought they drove faster than we used to.
Oh no!
Wow.
I am like, anyway. Yeah, you should. Okay, that's another. That's for another
She
video.
can stay. She's driving. She's driving fine.
Okay, well they have all these cameras. And then all of a sudden you get a ticket in the mail. You get lots of tickets in the mail.
Yeah.
And not for many kilometers over. Like I don't like
I am
it.
fully aware, and sometimes they send the ticket to the wrong address, which is years old, and then they call you and they say, hey, you owe us that much because there's a lot of late fees, and that happened to me recently. Fun times. Anyway, moving on. Let's not talk about that, please. No, thank you. Let's talk about cyclists. What about you? You use a bike instead of using a car because you want to. If you are a cyclist and you dream about roads biking all around New Zealand, don't. Stick to the mountain bike trails and all the other bike trails that we have around New Zealand. They're all really fantastic. But the New Zealand roads, I speak too fast. You should tell me to slow down.
Oh no, it's good.
The New Zealand roads tend to be a little narrower. There's gravels, there's all that, and there's a lot of trucks around and everything.
Yes,
it
it's
doesn't
true.
make for a good road biking
No.
experience. I know the dream sounds amazing, but it's not the Instagram picture that it looks. So
No, but
don't do
like
that.
they do, if you're in the cities like Wellington, people ride their bike to work
Yes.
and come back, and they don't have any room. So
But there is more bike lanes coming up. So,
yeah, there are. So
Fun
good advice.
times.
Doesn't mean you can't, but we don't recommend it.
All right, speaking of another fun time,
Yeah.
money, budget. New Zealand can be more expensive than what you expected. We are a very small island nation. Importing things is quite expensive. Gas is so expensive at the moment.
I love that you said gas.
Yeah, I mean, gas at the moment. What did I pay? I paid $2.48 per liter, which is 3.62 a gallon. So here you go, multiply that by 3.6. If you're a genius, put in a comment below. She wants some comments. And there you go. Comment call. But yeah, it's super expensive. The gas, for
food's
example.
expensive.
Yeah.
The gas is expensive. Yeah, I would say just travel in general is expensive.
Yeah, and even just getting pub drinks and everything like that, it's not gonna be cheap compared to what you used to. I mean, literally, I came from North America, arriving to New Zealand, and that was a shock money-wise. So yeah, just be aware. That doesn't mean you should pack all the food that you can in your suitcase to come to New Zealand. That would be a silly thing to do. But yeah, just be aware that you will need a decent budget in order to make your way around New Zealand comfortably and have fun.
Yes.
All right, I love how I'm just saying all the bad things right now and just like nice and friendly right here. I feel like I'm a downer
really
right
good
here.
tips because
You
people
need to hear that. It doesn't mean New Zealand is not amazing. It is. It is really fantastic. I promise. But I need you guys to know those things.
These are the insider tips.
All right. Another thing that you need to be aware of when you are planning your trip around New Zealand and you check the GPS and it says, "Oh yeah, driving from point A to point B is going to take you an hour." Plan 2. First up, you're going to drive a bit slower than what you planned because, well, there's going to be people in front of you and all that. And second, the sceneries are fantastic and there's plenty of pit stops along the way that you're going to want to stop, take some pictures and all that. New Zealand is all about the journey around the... I know it's a saying, I know it sounds so cliche, but New Zealand is genuinely about the journey traveling around. And so I feel like you're going to enjoy it much more if you take your time.
Yes, and there's so many windy roads, you guys.
Yeah, and Google Map is terrible. It's notoriously bad in New Zealand. We've got lost multiple times. So if you have the spare few dollars to download like the Garmin map or something like that on the App Store or something, or the TomTom map or whatever other brand. It's not sponsored, but yeah.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, definitely get one of the real GPS map. It will yield a better result for your trip. All right. Speaking of, the landscape and everything, if you come to New Zealand, you're coming for the nature, not for the cities. If you're planning to just go from city to city in New Zealand, you're not really going to see what New Zealand is all about. It's all about the beautiful nature, the beautiful sceneries, the awesome hikes and all these kind of things. So just know that if you're here to come and party and go nightclubs and everything like that, you may have a couple of fun nights in Queenstown, but that's going to be nowhere near the fun night you're going to get in Las Vegas. So what about you go party in Las Vegas with Dr. Dre? Here you go. See, I'm with the kids right here. Dr. Dre is in GTA now. I know things. I know things with the kids. Play GTA Online with Dr. Dre. Ooh. Yo. Now. All right, when traveling in New Zealand, make sure to protect yourself from the sun and the sunfly. Look at that. I moved from Dr. Dre to PSA. Whew. Awesome, what a transition.
He's
anyway,
a professional.
Sandflies can be notoriously annoying, especially in the Southland, around the Nelson Lakes area or things like that. So just a sandfly repellent will work. It generally does work. You just have to be aware and use it. And also there is some fantastic soaps which are natural and includes sandfly repellent in it.
Really?
Yes, you Americans can find that on Amazon very easy. For us in New Zealand, we have to import them from Amazon, and that's really expensive, so very sad. So you guys are lucky. Pack that, that'd be good. And for the sun, there is the hole in the ozone layer. Everybody knows that. If you were a kid in the 90s, you saw a lot of PSAs on TVs about these kind of things, and Captain Planet with his ring was trying to save the planet for that. If you ever watched that cartoon. Anyway, I am young, for sure. Anyway, there is a hole in the ozone layer. It's right on top of New Zealand. You can burn on up to 7 minutes only, so make sure you use sunscreen for sure. And we apply every couple of hours.
Yes, no, you guys, it literally feels like it's burning through your skin. Bring your sunscreen and load it. I mean, I don't know. I've been here for 6 years. I'm horrible at reapplying and wearing a hat.
Well, yeah, New Zealand and Australia have some of the highest rate of melanoma in the world because of that, So yeah, fun times. Now, don't underestimate the amount of things that there is to do in New Zealand. Next tip, ton of activities, ton of stuff, ton of hike, ton of points to add on your map. So yeah, a lot of people just think there is only a handful of things to do in New Zealand, and that's just a side trip from Australia. Don't do that. There's really a ton to do here. And even when you plan your itinerary, if you have the luxury of time, when you're driving from point A to point B, make that your whole day activity and add points of interest along the way. There's really a ton of them, and that's the best way to do things. And then you spend one day in the place that you want to stay at and do some activities there, and then you're driving again from point A to point B, and that is your entire day activity, rather than try to drive, do an activity, eat at that place, check into your accommodation, check out the next day, and keep on moving. Oh man, it's not going to be a holiday. You're going to want to sleep at work on the way back. So yeah.
Right. Well, it's really the best things in New Zealand are free.
Yes, and actually, great transition. Hiking would be your best friend in New Zealand. Look at that.
I love hiking.
Yes, which hikes do you like the most in New Zealand?
I would say that there isn't a hike that I don't like. That's the problem. Every time I go into the bush, I'm like, it literally feels like Jurassic Park.
It does.
You come in and you're like, where am I? This is so amazing. I try to do it every day because I have one by my house, and I love it.
So for people that grew up watching movies, the dinosaurs are not real, so it feels like Jurassic Park, but it's safe.
It's safe, yes. No snakes. We're not Australia. You can come on in.
Here you go. All right, next up, where am I on? I'm completely lost in this one. Yes. So, if you are coming in New Zealand for only a short amount of time, then we only recommend you to do one of both islands. So therefore, you have to kind of study up a little bit and kind of learn about the difference between the North and the South Island. Obviously, I can go over hours and hours talking about both islands, but in short, the North Island will be more volcanic and a lot of rich Maori culture, and the South Island will be more Jurassic, all those thick forests, mountainous, snow-capped mountains, all these kind of things, and amazing wildlife, such as, in
the bottom line is you're not going to be disappointed with either of them.
No, of course, but they are different, so if you have to pick only one of them, just, study up, because both of them are not, North doesn't.
They offer different things.
Yes.
So yeah, that's good.
All right, talking about food, you need to try the local cuisine. There is some really good food in New Zealand. Fish and chips is fresh right out of the water, delicious. You and the seagulls will love it. It's really awesome. You have also traditional Maori food such as the hangi, which is really, really nice. Plenty of awesome food.
And we'll have to try local because there isn't really chain restaurants here. I mean, other than the American ones. So you always have the McDonald's, Burger King, Subway, Pizza Hut,
Carl's
Domino's.
Jr.
Carl's Jr. I like Jr.
I mean, that's the no chest of them all. That's the.
It is. It's
did you
called.
See the ads?
That's Hardee's if you're in the U.S. by the way. So otherwise there's not chain restaurants. So it can be, as an American, when you're used to knowing what you're gonna get, going into a town and have no idea. Every town will have a fish and chips. Every town will have a cafe, right? Most of them will have at least a Domino's or a Pizza Hut.
What do you order at the cafe?
Huh?
What do you order at the cafe?
What do I order at the cafe?
What kind of coffee? Because it's very different in the US, right?
Yeah, so the most common coffee is the flat white. I probably go with the lattes, or I'll go with the mochas. The way that they make mochachinos here are like, they figured it out. It's not the same as the boring syrup in the US, but that's for another.
If you want to try a hot chocolate or a mocha at the cafe called The Shelf on High Street in Auckland, best one in the country. Just my tip.
Are you serious?
Serious.
I haven't been there.
You've got to. The Shelf.
I don't know if
High
it's
Street.
gonna be. I don't think it's gonna be as good as the one in Wellington.
I guarantee it, or you get your money back. Not you guys.
Is that what they say?
I pay for the coffee. I'll at least send you the money if it's not better than any other one you've tried in your life.
Oh my gosh.
There you go.
There's this one in Wellington on Cuba Street that is, it's literally like liquid chocolate, but it's so good.
Try it.
Okay.
We'll see. I put my money where my mouth is.
Okay.
All right. I may regret that. All right, moving on. Okay.
Afford a coffee.
Depending on how you're traveling, luxury, budget, family, or anything like that, there is, or even working holiday, gap year and everything, there is really options for all different budget and different ways to travel around New Zealand. But you've got to kind of plan a little bit differently. So do make sure that you do research for like the way you want to travel, right? If you travel as a couple, research like couple or honeymoons or things like that. And you're genuinely going to find some experiences which are absolutely unique. That's going to match exactly what you are after. And don't be afraid to kind of like actually kind of, I know it sounds weird, but put yourself in a box, and from that box you'll be able to actually find things that you usually don't find. It sounds crazy, but I think it's really true for New Zealand.
And it's all available too on the New Zealand Pocket Guide.
It is. Yes,
no, it is.
That's true.
Like
that's
true. Literally the place to go.
Just...
If you want to know anything, you can type in couples, and it's everything. It's
there
great.
NZPocketGuide.com. Boom! I should have had the T-shirt that says that.
You should. What the heck is this?
I know. All right. Another thing that's going to be taken as a complaint, which is not, when on the roads, traveling around, don't expect you're going to get good Wi-Fi everywhere. Nope. I mean, I work online, and you work online, and how good's the Wi-Fi in the local cafe? Okay. The lack of word tells you a lot, because she's never lacked words.
I use my hotspot a lot, let's just be honest.
Yeah, so do be aware that, there is still even some accommodation that will provide you with like a 20 megabyte voucher that you have to log in onto a certain browser, enter a code, and you have 20 megabyte to use online. I mean, there is still these kind of things happening around New Zealand. So just do be aware that you may have to unplug, which is definitely not a bad thing.
Right,
it is a good thing to unplug sometimes. That's what actually makes a holiday, Forget your phone at the hotel. Wow. Change your life.
You may not even be able to get through this whole video on that internet.
Oh, absolutely not. Hell no. There is no way. All right. For you Americans, I included this one just for you guys. Tipping is not mandatory in New Zealand, is it?
Yes, it is not mandatory.
You probably have talked about that to death on your channel,
I have talked about that. Not to death, I would say, but people are always asking me. People from New Zealand get stressed going to the U.S. and tipping and like how much they should do and all of that. But here, no, it's not expected. You can if you want. Sometimes they'll have like the tip jar at the cafe or at the bar where you pay, and you pay. You get up and you pay. They're not bringing you your check. This is probably the biggest change if you're coming from the U.S. You're just sitting there forever.
You've got to do your part, okay?
You're like,
they don't make you cook the meal, but you've got to go order.
You have to get up and pay at the bar or pay at wherever it's obvious.
And if you're at the pub, you actually have to walk to the bar to also order. No one is going to come and ask you for your order if you're at the pub.
No,
if you're at the restaurant, someone may show up if you're definitely like it. But
and like when I go into a restaurant when I first came and they were like bringing me water. Not everybody just brings you water. Like they'll have their own like cooler where you get your own water. You get your own water. But it was funny. I was with people when I first came and they like, brought water to the table and they're like, "Oh, they're bringing it because you're American." Because they heard the accent and were like, "You're expecting water."
Yep. But they also know that you made tips, therefore they want the tip. So here you go. All right. Still sticking with the difference between the US and New Zealand, make sure that you research which travel adapter you need for New Zealand, for all your appliances, for your phone charger and everything. And also just do a little bit of research because the cheaper adapter is not necessarily the best. There's plenty of adapters with extra little things, with extra like USB plugs and everything like that. There's really a lot of different adapters which are really great. There's some of them that will last you a lifetime and go through every countries and everything like that. So do research for your adapter. You do need one. And also research if you can get a good one.
And definitely, from the US, it's 120 volt to the 240 here, and so it's fine to use your curling iron or your hair straightener with the adapter. So a lot of people ask me that question.
There you go. Next up is, I read it, I was like, I'm going to remember it, and then I forgot it. Anyway, tap water is drinkable here in New Zealand, and
so
it doesn't
good.
taste like chlorine. So,
It's
you know.
so good. I love the water here, you guys. It's so great. And
I know.
that's so really, that's a real selling point.
Save the planet, save money, don't give more money to Nestle, they're evil. Stop buying Aquafina, toss it, and drink some water from the tap. Here you go.
Whoever thought we'd be spending money on water?
I know, that's crazy,
that's
right?
a brilliant marketing campaign.
Right, do I have the right to read the next one? Or
Oh,
is
yes.
It,
Oh, it's fine, yes.
can I read that? Okay.
No, please, because that's a big one. You
Okay,
need
I'm going to read it.
You need to hear
Don't be
this.
a the environment.
Yes,
okay?
don't.
So often I walk, I do some of the most popular walk around New Zealand and everything, and I see wrappers on the floor and all these kind of things. And literally, you can see us on our videos doing activities in New Zealand. Pretty much every time we have to pick up a wrapper from somebody else. Don't be addicted to the environment. If you do bring something into national parks, into hikes, into places, just live with it and dispose of it properly. And think about other stuff. For example, if you are a lady that travels around New Zealand and really cannot live without your hairspray, know that aerosol cans, for example, cannot be properly recycled in New Zealand, for instance. So you may want to pack it with you and get it properly recycled in the US. For instance, just one thing. Just those kind of things. Just be mindful. We only have one planet. We're not all Elon Musk. We can't all go to Mars. And
I think that's interesting. I did not know that you couldn't recycle the aerosol.
Same thing with batteries. Have you tried to recycle batteries in New Zealand?
Yeah, like I have to bring it somewhere.
Yeah, so you have to jump through
there's
many
an
different
extra,
hoops and
okay,
everything.
so you can put it somewhere. Because I find it interesting, I have a hard time finding hairspray that's not aerosol here. Like the spritz.
Yeah, because we have...
Why don't they sell that?
New Zealand's a little bit behind on regulations, right? So your option...
Oh, is that why?
Yeah,
Okay.
your options would be like those kind of... there's some which are like actually just like spray like your... like those... Like gun
like
sprays,
that.
the gun, not the aerosol spray, but the actual gun spray.
Yeah,
so
the gun
there's
spray.
some of those available.
Yeah.
There's some mousse available, those kind of things. But still, there's a bit of aerosol
Bring
in there.
your own
So
beauty product.
And why am I talking about mousse?
I know.
Honestly.
These are all my tips.
Hey,
These are
ladies.
actual tips. I'm giving you ear tips.
White girls. So right now we're gonna do a little bit of shadow right here on the eyelines. All right, ladies. There's a lot of those on YouTube, isn't it? All right. Makeup tutorial right here.
Yes.
International makeup with Tara and Robin.
Yeah.
All right, the last tip is a little bit of a plug. Check out NZPocketGuide.com.
Yes, check it out. It's the best. Honestly, it's the best.
Yeah, we put our heart and soul into that website. It's all free for you guys. There is thousands and thousands of articles. There's full itinerary already planned for you guys. If you want to check them out, you can literally just print them, hop in your car and do all that. And thousands of tips. I don't know. We like what we do.
It's really great. I was just planning my trip for in a couple weeks, and I was like, I know where to go. And I read everything, and it was all these details I didn't know. It's true.
Easy as.
You heard it here first.
I am done with my list.
Okay, cool.
Would you
Well,
like
No, that was so great. Thank you so much for giving us and talking through that. I actually learned some stuff, and I've been here for 6 years. So thank you, Robin, for joining us today, and I hope this was helpful to you guys. And we'll see you next week.
And hit like and subscribe.
Yes.
People say that, right?
Yeah, they do. Do that. All right, cool.